Well, it seems that the external microphone's not working, so unfortunately that means that we're probably going to incur a bit of wind noise, sadly. But okay, we'll try that again. It seems that the external microphone, for whatever reason, isn't working. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to resort to the normal microphone, which might mean that we get a bit of wind noise. So sorry about that. Anyway, as I was saying, this is a pretty random time for me to be doing a live stream, but that's the way it's going to be over the next few months, because I've got a project that I need to literally focus on full time. So between now and probably March or so, the live streams are going to be somewhat random, but also hopefully some weird and wonderful places, and also with some very interesting people. But meanwhile, here in the UK, the Brexit pantomime continues, and I absolutely regret to have to say that everything that I predicted in my AV7 presentation, which I gave 6 weeks prior to the 2016 referendum, has come to pass. And anyone who thinks that Boris's deal is Brexit really needs to think again. This was a classic case of attempting to con the British public into believing that he had achieved a significantly different deal, bordering on no deal, from that achieved by Theresa May. But in reality, it's pretty much the same deal with a few tweaks. And of course, the focus has been on the Irish backstop and effectively starting the process of integrating Ireland one way or another, whether that be by government or simply by customs union. But, you know, a lot of these things are still going to have to be thrashed out. But the reality is that if Boris's deal is accepted, then the reality is that Britain is still in the EU, but without any seat at the table. And this is treason in any definition. This is effectively handing over the sovereignty of a nation state to a foreign entity against the will of the people. You know, Parliament got a very, very clear mandate back in 2016. And of course, every politician was on record of saying, you know, whatever the vote, whatever the result of the vote, then we will honour it. Whilst, of course, having fingers crossed behind their back, knowing fine well that if there was a attempt to exit the EU, they would do everything they possibly could to delay, to obfuscate, and hopefully just bore the British people into accepting the status quo. Well, how this unfolds, of course, remains to be seen. And, you know, no doubt Brian Gerrish will be giving us the benefit of his unique insight at AV 10.1, which is coming up this Sunday. Now, I have two speakers at AV 10.1 who are both making their platform debut. So, you know, people who have been looking for their names online haven't found very much. And, you know, that is somewhat deliberate. But one of those speakers has been hospitalised twice in the last few weeks with what is now acknowledged as a clear attempt to effectively prevent him from taking a platform by poisoning him. So after the second time in a southeastern hospital and the involvement of the, I believe, the Centre for Tropical Diseases, it is now subject to a police investigation. Well, that is until the police are sort of probably warned off on the basis of, well, hang on a second, you know, maybe this was actually being perpetrated by somebody who was concerned about what this particular individual is about to share from the public platform. So I've no doubt that he will give a bit of an insight into what transpired and what led to his hospitalisation at AV 10.1. And I'm delighted to say that David Noakes will be present, and David will be giving an update on the ongoing persecution of both himself and Lynn Thayer. Well, there are still 30 tickets left that we're keeping online for people who book late, but there will also be another 30 tickets that we're holding back for people who want to just roll up and pay at the door. So one way or another, anybody who wants to be there, I'm sure we can get you in. If you can't get to the Holiday Inn in just off Kensington High Street on Sunday, then there is the opportunity to watch the live stream of AV 10.1, and you can access the live stream either via my website, that's ianrcrane.com, or alternativeview.co.uk, or the UK Column website, ukcolumn.org, or David Dubine's website. And you'll be able to watch those live streams, obviously, as they are transmitted, or at any time between Sunday and the end of the year. So that's AV 10.1. I know it's going to be an absolutely incredible day. You know, we're looking forward to a packed house, and obviously, you know, say nothing beats actually being amongst some 300 or so like-minded people and having the opportunity to discuss issues with them that perhaps you don't have the opportunity to discuss with people around you on a day-to-day basis. But failing that, then at least there is the opportunity to access it on the live stream. And the one thing I can absolutely guarantee is that AV11 is, you know, certainly going to, I think, be amongst the best yet. And so much is going to happen between now and AV11 next May that I'm actually going to, I think, enjoy just sitting back a little bit and watching it unfold, and then passing comment perhaps in the early spring. Well, meanwhile, I just touched on David Noakes, and David Noakes is due back in court at Westminster Magistrates Courts, which are just on the Marylebone Road. And oh, looks like I've got my my fan club have rocked up. I thought they were in another field today, but anyway, they've just rocked up. So we'll see how friendly they want to get today. But David is back in court at hello at Marylebone on Thursday, the 31st of October. And this is the first of David's extradition hearings. So this is an attempt by the pharmaceutical industry to get David extradited to France, where he and Lynn can face yet more legal proceedings and, of course, be incarcerated for the rest of their natural days. So, of course, anyone following this knows that this is an injustice of extraordinary magnitude. So if you can be at the Westminster Magistrates Court on Thursday 31st, I will definitely be there in support of David. And, you know, let's yet probably watch another horrendous miscarriage of justice. But who knows? Who knows? You know, one day we might stumble across a member of the judiciary that actually has a conscience and isn't entirely bought and paid for like the majority seem to be. Well, a bit closer to that, tomorrow afternoon there is going to be an event outside Hove Town Hall. Now, the address is Norton Road, Hove. That's BN34AH, and this is going to be the Brighton and Hove, 5G awareness group, gathering outside Hove Town Hall, ready to present their petition and submissions to Brighton and Hove City Council regarding their concerns over 5G. Now, they've had some successes recently in that the City Council has rejected applications for 3 5G mobile phone masts. And, of course, this has been described in the media as the conspiraloons claiming success. But, of course, notice the common denominator here. The common denominator is that the industry nor the government can produce any independent scientific studies proving 5G frequencies to be safe. And as I was demonstrating and proving during my 5G Is It Safe tour, there has been awareness of cancer clusters around phone masts for over 2 decades. But the government, successive governments, and the industry have done everything they can to avoid that information going viral and simply just dismissing it. And you watch the terminology that they use, because they use terms such as insufficient evidence or not very much evidence, which in of itself says there is some evidence. But then they also have to acknowledge that there are not any independent studies which they can point to proving 5G or any other radio frequencies for that matter to be safe. So 2G, 3G, 4G was a problem, is a problem for a lot of people. But just like, unfortunately, a lot of other things, that's now regarded as just unfortunate collateral. But of course, 5G and the implementation of 5G will mean that that collateral literally goes exponential. And when you've got the establishment recognizing that 1 in every 3 people will develop some form of cancer currently, and that's forecast to rise to 1 in 2 by 2025 and to everybody by 2030. And what's the fundamental change? It's literally creating this electro smog. So you're creating a situation where people are effectively living 24/7 in a microwave oven. And, for the government and the industry to claim that there are no studies which suggest that, basically the precautionary principle should be applied and that 5G should not be rolled out until such time as it can be proven to be safe. They know fine well those studies exist, but of course cognitive dissonance is absolutely the rule of the day when your salary check depends on it. So what we have is people within the industry, within government, within local authorities prostituting themselves on the basis that the corporate dollar or pound or euro is worth more to them than human life. And when one watches the video of the exchange between councillors at Swansea City Council a few weeks ago, then you can see that Councillor Mark Thomas is the epitome of the councillor that has become institutionalised. They have effectively prostituted their humanity to truly do nothing other than represent the interests of the corporatocracy and the government, whilst pretending to be there to represent the people. For Mark Thomas to make the observations and the references he did, clearly without any in-depth analysis or study, is absolutely unforgivable. And all those people, of course, unfortunately will have to acknowledge that at some juncture they had the opportunity to prevent this abomination from being rolled out on their respective communities. But what is gaining traction is the local groups, totally autonomous, independent local groups who make the effort to speak with their respective councils and get their attention and stimulate their curiosity. Threatening councillors, calling them baby killers or murderers is not conducive with getting their attention. Basically, they're just going to walk away from you. That's normal human behaviour. But what is working is an approach of building cooperation. And sadly, it does seem that another common denominator is that it is a lot easier to gain traction with elected representatives who are relatively new to public office, i.e. those that have only been in office for 3 to 5 years or so, because they haven't become, like Mark Thomas, institutionalised, and they still have a focus of integrity and doing the right thing by their communities. And what we do know from many of those conversations and the feedback that I'm getting from people who are having those conversations with their respective councillors is that the councillors are concerned. And the more they study the issue for themselves, the more concerned they become. The challenge then becomes how to overcome a government and an industry that is effectively prepared to do whatever it takes to ride roughshod over the people of this country and ride roughshod over local democracy, just like they did with fracking, and foist 5G and all the infrastructure, the literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of additional masts that have to be put up because of the need for total coverage of 5G, particularly as they push this agenda for autonomous vehicles. Now, my 5G Is It Safe presentation is currently available on pay-per-view on my website. It's ianrcrane.com. But early in December, There will be a DVD available of this presentation, and it will also be available on YouTube. And all those people who attended the 5G Is It Safe presentations and are waiting on the email lists, that I can promise that the remaining email lists from that tour will be distributed by no later than tomorrow evening. It's been a mammoth task, not least trying to decipher people's handwriting. Clearly, handwriting is becoming a lost skill as people spend more and more time on a keyboard. So that's pretty much it from me. My next live stream will be who knows when, but you know, the next public event is AV 10.1, and like I said, you know, we've got a truly stunning lineup of speakers, and you know, I know that there is going to be a thread that falls through the day, and you know, the information that is going to be shared in many cases will be truly unique. So it's why I choose the speakers I do for alternative view events, because these are speakers who are on point on their particular subject. And, you know, it's up to each and every one of us to decide where the truth lies for themselves. But, you know, would you rather know what's going on? Would you rather have an insight into the prognosis of those people who spend a significant chunk of their time researching this agenda? Or would you just rather stumble on a day-to-day basis? So thanks for joining me this afternoon. It's a beautiful afternoon, if a little bit breezy, up here on the edge of the East Lancashire, North Yorkshire moors. And I look forward to seeing many of you on Sunday at AV 10.1 and others as and when I come up with the next live stream. So thanks for all your support, and take care now.